So the other day I put up a video where I showed 10 things that I would like to see in future Assassin's Creed games. And one of the most disputed points was the present day activity. Everybody, well, not everybody, but a lot of people felt that the game should remain in the past solely. My thing is that if it relied solely on the past, it would not be the same game, and we probably would not play it. Although, I have no problem with your arguments for the dismissal of, like, the present day. You know, a lot of you do have some solid reasons behind it. Some of you have kind of reasons that you really don't understand, which I don't understand why you would cite it. Anyway, I'm Darkstrider the YouTube Assassin, and I'm going to explain why I think the present day is very important in the Assassin's Creed series. Since the very first game, the whole premise has been absolutely simple. The assassins are up against the Templars. Now, the Templars are looking for powerful artifacts to use in order to actually go out and conquer mankind. So all the artifacts that they're searching for obviously are Isu artifacts. They deal with stuff in the past. Okay? So the only way in order to stop them is for the assassins to find clues in the past by diving into the Animus, and once they're in the Animus, reliving the lives of past ancestors. And then it evolved where anybody could dive into anyone's life at all, so long as you had a sample of their DNA, which actually is pretty cool. Now, the thing is, a lot of you guys are citing historical aspects. Like, that's why you're playing the Assassin's Creed games. You don't want present day because it has nothing to do with what's going on in the past. Well, actually, it has a lot to do with what's going on in the past. So, honestly, let's go chronologically. Let's go with, obviously, Assassin's Creed Odyssey would have happened first. Now, first of all, if you're looking for historical accuracy, the game would not be about Cassandra. It would be about Alexios due to gender roles back then. Okay, we really got a lot more lenient with gender roles and everything just over the past, I would say, like maybe 50, 80 years, maybe 100 pushing it, you know? So she wouldn't even be the canon character. It would only be about Alexios. Another thing that would be historically inaccurate is why would the character walk around with the spear of Leonidas? The game would not be about searching for relics, because at that point it would make no sense. We wouldn't have any of these artifacts. We wouldn't be searching for legendary artifacts. We wouldn't have any abilities or anything. It would be a basic hack and slash game, which, don't get me wrong, hack and slash games work. They're a lot of fun and whatnot. And I mean, you could even exaggerate a little bit where, you know, the character's doing all this like really powerful attacks and beating up on everybody and whatnot. It would be absolutely cool, you know, don't get me wrong, but it would not be historically accurate unless it was something along those lines. The whole thing with this game, you think about it, first of all, Cassandra is searching for her family. She is in the middle of the Peloponnesian War. She is in the middle of all this strife, all this battle. So if you went around doing this, like attacking everything and battling and everything, sailing the ships and whatnot, that would actually be cool. But for historical accuracy, we would have to remove like a lot of the gameplay features. Okay? On top of that, honestly, let's say we're not going with historical accuracy. We're just going for a fun game. That's fine. You know, I'm not going to argue that. It's a hack and slash game. We're going out all hack and slash RPG kind of game. you know, which, I mean, still is a lot of fun. We could even throw in legendary gear, all this other gear. We could throw in Atlantis and whatnot. We could put that all together. That would be fine. But certain elements would not make sense, such as searching for the ancient relics, the Isu technology. The whole Isu storyline would have to be written out because it would make no sense. The only reason those things make sense to us is because we live in the present and we're searching for clues in the past. To me, that's kind of the basis of the game. Otherwise, there really would be no point in there being just a game where we're running around and attacking and stuff like that. Doing all these like little side missions and everything, it would get boring. It would get boring really fast, especially if like we continue with the grind and everything. Even if we did have all these assaults and everything like that. Historically accurate, we would be warriors with some minor archery. If you wanted to like make the game, you know, like I said, just a little more fun where it's like hack and slash. I mean, God of War is hack and slash, and you have relics and stuff like that. You go, you find the gods and whatnot, and the game makes sense because it's just a wild ride. This game, I mean, sure, we could find the gods and everything, but they can't be Isu. We would have to, like I said, we would totally have to write out the Isu thing. It just would be a totally different game. We would have to write out all artifacts, all the legendary items that are related to artifacts. There would be no point for Cassandra to live as long as she lived. There would be nothing really tying the game together. You know, you would go into the next game and it would have nothing to do with the previous game. It would just be another entry in like a historical background. There would be no real point to having, like I said, Isu artifacts or technology. So in this case, I mean, like I said, we'd have to write this out as any part Isu technology. Maybe it's something about the gods. Maybe Cassandra does a favor for the gods, and that's her whole purpose. But we'd have to remove Isu technology. We'd have to remove all forms of anything to do with Isu, any tech, anything like that. We would have to remove it all because it would not make sense at all. It would just kind of just be like some weird sci-fi game. And there would be no point in having a sci-fi game that takes place in the past. It would kind of be weird. And the whole reason that it makes sense with the present day, even though it is weird, is the fact that we found out about the Isu. We found out that there is a precursor race. We found out that there is something that we have to like study on. So they left behind a bunch of like toys and weapons and things like that. And that's kind of the basis of Assassin's Creed. Yes, there's a lot of fighting and battling and stuff like that, but you really can't explain all these kind of like little zones, scenescapes, advanced technology and everything. The Isu stuff, you can't explain it unless you have something going on in the present. In the present, we know what's going to happen. We know what we're looking for. In the past, it's like it's foreshadowing. It makes it kind of a little more dramatic because we know we're going to find that object. We just don't know how we're going to find that object. Without the present day, we have to remove all the apples, the shrouds, basically everything. Every artifact that she has that has anything to do with technology or some kind of advancement or anything like that would have to be removed because it would make no sense in the story. So anything here that is, you know, like Isu enhanced, we'd have to remove. The actual staff that we get that keeps her alive, we'd have to remove. Because what would the point be in a game where at the end we discover that we've lived for over 2,500 years? What's the point in that? Why would we have to live? There would be no purpose for us to live that long. So it would just be a very weird game with a very weird ending. And honestly, Odyssey, even though I liked Odyssey, I had fun with Odyssey, it really isn't in my top 5 favorite Assassin's Creed games. It was really grindy. There wasn't a lot of story all around. You ran around the map and you did several hundred different tasks that really did not interact with each other. They really had no point. So honestly, I don't know that I would play this game if it was just a Spartan soldier or ex-Spartan running around hacking and slashing people to find her family. That would just be too weird of a game for me. I don't think I would enjoy it, honestly. Now, Origins, which I think is the better of the two Antiquities games and one of my favorite Assassin's Creed games, I think this would be able to carry the whole like ancient technology thing
The
rather
Great
well.
Sphinx.
We
Smaller than
know
I expected.
that a lot of TV shows, programs, conspiracy theories all revolve around Egypt, ancient Egypt in particular. Why was the Sphinx created? Why were the pyramids created? There's all kinds of speculation that the pyramids were created by aliens, that they have like power sources. They were created in order to harness solar energy, all kinds of things. There are tons of things. You could Google for days how many different things people believe about ancient Egypt and what scientists are constantly finding out about what went on in the past and what everything is. There's even a story where we cannot recreate the pyramids. We actually tried to do it. We tried to do it their way with the ancient technology, the way that they were to do it. We couldn't replicate it. And then we tried to replicate it with our current technology, and we couldn't replicate it. The only way we could do it is upside down and in the ground, which is kind of weird. I wanted to research that a little bit more, but that's for like another time. Anyway, um, this could carry the ancient technology, the Isu thing. We won't call them Isu. We'd have to write them in as aliens. And again, there could be no sort of, like things like the orbs, the apples of Eden, the Shroud of Eden, the Staff of Eden, nothing like that. We can't have any of that because it would make no sense in this kind of world. On top of which, if this was a direct sequel to Odyssey, let's say we went historically accurate as far as what came first, second, third, fourth, and so forth, it would make no sense that this would be after Odyssey other than time period. And then the question is why? Why would we make a sequel to an ancient Greek hack and slash and make an Egyptian hack and slash? It wouldn't be a series. It would have to be like its own entity. It would have to be its own game. Maybe made by the same developers, but a different game entirely. There could really be no connection between the two games either. There's no reason why Aya
A hidden
would be
entrance.
the
How long is this
descendant
video?
of Cassandra as we see it Odyssey, because it would make no sense. Also in Odyssey, Darius's whole storyline would not make sense. We wouldn't have to write that in. There would be no hidden blades. That's another thing. We would have to remove the hidden blade because it's non-existent. And there's nothing to tie those two games together. The games are tied together now through Layla and the Assassins and the Templars. In this game, Layla was a Abstergo employee, was not on their payroll as somebody who worked on the Animus projects or anything like that. She was basically just a rebel. She found Bayek's tomb. She found Aya. She relived their lives and everything, and just out of curiosity, she tested her machine to see if it works. She just happened to stumble across Bayek's tomb. She discovers that he's the one that creates the assassin order, the Brotherhood. It's called something different back then. And, she keeps going out of curiosity. Why does Abstergo want the assassins? Why does Abstergo want this information? And Abstergo hunts her down, trying to kill her. And then towards the end, she joins the assassins. So when we get to Odyssey, We know why we're there. In this kind of situation, we would have sequels and we would not have any idea why we're there. It's just, it just really would not make any sense. It would be like a really crazy series and kind of pointless. It really wouldn't, there's nothing to tie it together. So you'd just be playing these random hack and slashes. And I mean, people might not pay attention because if they're making a hack and slash every year, it would be going up against other hack and slashes or other games that have, some type of theme to it and everything. There really would be no need for these guys to wear hoods, upgrade their gear, anything like that. It would just, it would be a way different game than it is now. Just think about that. Everything that makes it an Assassin's Creed game, you'd have to remove it. You'd have to make it like a historical piece. And if it's a historical piece, people tend not to pay attention to it as much. Assassin's Creed 2 is probably one of my favorite Assassin's Creed games. It's probably the favorite of mine. It was here that I really enjoyed the Assassin's Creed franchise. Although I did enjoy the original Assassin's Creed and learning about Altair and everything, Assassin's Creed 2 is really where I really got into it. I mean, Ezio was such a relatable character. He was charismatic. He was a lot of fun. He learned to be an assassin. He just wasn't an assassin right away. Even though he did have like some skills at climbing and eagle vision and stuff, he really didn't understand it until you got here. Now, again, to rewrite this game, he would not be running around with a hood and a cape. He probably would be on a quest for revenge against the Templars for murdering his family, but it would not be against the Pope. There would have to be some other organization because the Templars would make no sense. Why are Templars in this game? Again, we have to write out all Isu technology, all Isu, just anything related to Isu. We'd have to like remove the glyphs. We'd have to remove basically everything that makes the game an Assassin's Creed game. We'd have to remove. It would just be a timepiece about Italy, Renaissance Italy, where some guy is doing something. He'd have to do something. It would have to be some hack and slash where they wronged his family and he attacks them, and I don't know. It wouldn't be a Templar organization. It would have to be some other reason. And again, the whole reason we know what's going on with Ezio, the whole reason we know what's going on back here, the whole reason we have this momentum with the Isu and everything, it's because of the present day. We know what's going on. We know Desmond, this is his ancestor. We know that he's on a mission to find out what's going on in the past. We're looking for clues in the past. If we're just playing for historical accuracy, it's nonsense. I mean, there will be no need for him to be leaping across things like this. There would be no need for parkour. It would just be a standard hack and slash. It would have to be just on the ground only. And he would have to only attack on the ground. No aerial anything. I mean, maybe, like climbing up on like one of those short buildings and jumping off and attacking somebody. But definitely not like coming all the way up here and attacking from like the top. Again, no hidden blades. Can't have the hidden blade. Can't have poison darts. Can't have anything basically that, it gives you a hint of some sort of advanced technology. We can't do that. It makes no sense at that point. It would be like a really weird game. And honestly, like I said, I don't know that I'd play it. It would just be too weird for me. Now, to be fair, in all honesty, when the very first Assassin's Creed came out, and it was about Altair, there really was no mention of any of the Assassin's Creed elements that we see today. But it made sense. It was about an assassin around the times that assassins actually existed, when the word was actually created. His whole mission was to go out and assassinate various people. And he had the hidden blade, and it made sense. It made sense with him attacking and, you know, using the feather and all that stuff. It all came together. And then once we saw like the little glitches, like Animus style glitches, that kind of made no sense. And like people were like, this game isn't going to work. But you know what? It did once we discovered exactly what those glitches were and why they existed. Assassin's Creed, the original game, I'm going to admit it was kind of boring at times, depending on what you were doing. There was just a lot of walking around and riding around. It wasn't really open world. You know, everything was enclosed spaces the way it is in Assassin's Creed 2. And, you know, again, it had its moments where it was boring. There were times where, and actually, I'm going to tell you, when I bought my first PS3, I actually bought Assassin's Creed and I bought BioShock. And Assassin's Creed at one point got boring to me, and then I started playing BioShock. And then once I completed BioShock, I went back to Assassin's Creed. And it wasn't until I got to like the end of Assassin's Creed that a lot of the stuff really made sense. Or as I was like going through it, like it all of a sudden came together that it was kind of like a sci-fi epic, and we were searching for this apple. Honestly, I don't know what the game would be if we weren't hunting Templars and looking for ancient Isu artifacts. I kind of feel like it would fall flat on its face. Or it would just be like some kind of, I don't know, maybe like a 3D hack and slash that, I don't know, they would have to change the plot point. But again, I don't think I would play it. And again, none of these games would be connected. There would be nothing, absolutely nothing connecting any of these games except just historical timeline. But why go through a historical timeline? Why do you need to have a game that goes through unless you make a final game that ties them all together? But why wait till then? You'd lose your audience along the way. So, I don't know. There was a lot of stuff involved with Assassin's Creed. And honestly, I really am glad that it actually has present day, because again, even though we had different protagonists in the different games, they were all tied together by the villains, the Templars, and the assassins themselves, who, even though they had changed a lot of teams, they were still a part of the series. And again, you had to go into the past to find clues. One of the main reasons that I loved the Ezio trilogy was because it really introduced us to the Isu. It gave us focus. It let us know why we keep diving into the past. It let us know the importance of what was going on in the present. Assassin's Creed 3, the ending fell flat on its face, honestly, but I still enjoyed the ride. I still enjoyed going through all the stuff and seeing what was going on, why we were in, you know, America during the revolution. It was kind of wild. Again, you know, the ending fell flat on its face, but like as we were dealing with the Isu, as we were learning about the artifacts, as we were going through all the motions and everything, it was really, really intense. It was like a great kind of history lesson for what was happening with the Isu, why we had the Isu, why we were fighting the Isu, why we were fighting the Templars. It was just wild, and I really enjoyed it. Now, you know, past this, the other games, they did all right. When we got to Assassin's Creed 4, obviously there was no Desmond. We, the player, were actually the protagonist. We were the present-day protagonist. And we went into the body of Connor, who is the assassin I'm playing as now. We played as Connor's grandfather on the open seas. Now, that game may have survived a thing by itself as long as it dealt more like Pirates of the Caribbean with magic and stuff like that, rather than ancient Isu technology. So we would have had to change what they were after. This game actually could have survived, but I don't know that he would be working with George Washington. You know, maybe if it was like just a soldier, but again, we wouldn't be dealing with any of the parkour. We wouldn't be dealing with Templars. It would have to be strictly Redcoats versus the U.S. And I don't know. I mean, maybe that'll be a fun game, but you know, I'm not really a historian, so I don't know how much I would be playing those games. The only reason that I know certain histories when I give you some of these videos is because I actually put a lot of research into looking up what was going on at that time period, similarities between real life and, you know, this fictional life and things like that. It's just like the Far Cry 5 video that I did where I showed what those white poppy seeds that Faith would always use to kind of, like, I don't know, get the player mesmerized, entranced. It was a real thing called Devil's Breath. And I did a video on that, and that was pretty wild. That was a really hefty research. It was actually kind of scary. But, you know, again, if it wasn't for these Assassin's Creed games and me looking for not just the past elements, but the future elements, I don't think I would bother. I don't think I would be playing. And I don't think I would be researching it like that. But, you know, again, that's just me. And that doesn't mean that, you know, like anybody who plays it for the kind of history lesson that you're wrong. You know, you play it for the way you want to play it. And honestly, you know, like I say, historical accuracy, they would have to do a lot of work to make it historically accurate. But at the same time, if that's your thing, if you like looking at the history and everything, you like running into Leonardo da Vinci and George Washington and Socrates and so forth, then go right ahead. You know, there is no wrong way to play these Assassin's Creed games at all. So anyway, those are my reasons why I believe that the present day has a place in the Assassin's Creed series. Now, I know a lot of you feel against it, and I welcome your comments. I want to know, why are you against the present day narrative? Would you play a game where it only takes place in the past? What would you change in the Assassin's Creed games in order to make it more realistic or more historically accurate? Would you play a historically accurate game? And would you play an Assassin's Creed game if it was under a different name, but it dealt purely with the past? If you did play any time period in the Assassin's Creed timeline, obviously they wouldn't connect. So what would you like to see a series made of? Because obviously, if this was Lost Tales of Greece, let's say they called it, the very next one would not be Assassin's Creed Origins. It would not be anything with Egypt. It wouldn't be Lost Tales of Egypt, because that would kind of make sense. There's nothing really to connect them. Would you go with like a Greek series where it continued all kinds of stuff in the ancient Greek world? I mean, I'm pretty sure that there is plenty of stories that could be done as far as this goes. If you think about it, we're at the start of the Peloponnesian War. We could go through the entire war. It's right there. So let me know in the comments below what you think. And again, I'm not arguing with you at all. I welcome your comments. I welcome your difference of opinion. I think it's great that we could debate this kind of stuff. So again, let me know in the comments below what you think, what changes you would make, or what you would alter, how you would do these games. Please, by all means, let me know in the comments below. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe. It helps the channel out an awful lot. And as always, thank you for watching.